Hi, this is Suzette, the Marriage Warrior, and today we're going to talk about a topic that is common. It's a common question in my practice. It's a common question for the heart of a marriage, and that is, what is emotional intimacy? What is physical intimacy? And how do you lose it? And then how do you gain it? First of all, just looking at the physical intimacy, most people can figure out that's sexual. But if you're not connected emotionally, the sexual intimacy is going to feel very obligatory for the woman and forced by the man. That doesn't make either one of you guys feel good because it's not connected. Even men who a lot of women think are just sexual and sex is always on their mind, men want emotional intimacy during sexual encounters. They're not just looking for sex for in a relationship. They are looking for connection through the sexual contact. And so if the emotional intimacy is not there for the partners, either one of them, the sexual intimacy will start to dwindle as well. And so when we're looking at emotional intimacy, what is it? It means we are feeling connected. We feel like we know each other. We feel safe with each other. We have healthy boundaries that both people respect and regard. And you know, it's kind of like a best friend. It's someone you can talk to and that doesn't judge you and that's got your back. And when you have emotional intimacy in any kind of relationship, you're going to move forward. It's going to be a more giving than taking relationship, and you're not going to withdraw. You're going to push forward inside of the relationship. When emotional intimacy is stopped or dwindling, then that means usually people start getting guarded. So in other words, if you're not feeling connected, something has occurred inside of the relationship that has harmed one or both partners. And so when you are pulling back in order to keep yourself safe, that's called a coping mechanism. That it's a natural survival mechanism that if you don't know how to engage, if you don't know how to push forward, the natural thing to do is to pull back. And so when you're pulling back, that will cause a tension between the emotional intimacy, because emotional intimacy is about empathy and sensitivity and compassion. And those things are not there if people are starting to feel unsafe and pulling back inside of the marriage or the relationship. And so how do you fix emotional intimacy so that your sexual intimacy can gain momentum as well? Because most people at the last minute, they see, okay, we're not good sexually, and I've got to reel them back to the emotional connection that was lost. Usually there's an offense. Oftentimes the other person doesn't even know that they're offending you. And so people typically pull back and try to do other things like pretend everything's okay, or people please, or use passive aggressive things to show that things are not okay with them. And then it offsets the other partner that doesn't know what is going on because the communication has dwindled. And so whenever the communication is the problem that makes a connection intimate and can totally disrupt and rupture an intimate connection, then communication is the way to heal it. And so oftentimes it's very difficult to get into those kind of communicative patterns with each other, especially when there's some offense, there's hurt, it's painful to go into the conversation because it's going to be stressful. You may get attacked. You may not be able to say your words. All of that is very normal inside a communication breakdown that you're trying to repair. And so the way you got to do it is you got to push through and communicate what you're feeling and what occurred. And sometimes you have to go backwards instead of forward first. Everybody wants to say, okay, just, you know, put it behind us, go forward. But that's kind of sweeping it under the rug. And we've done videos on that to show you that's not a good thing. So when you have to go backwards, it's not like you have to take a Band-Aid off of an old wound that's healing. The wound is just causing a scab anyway, and things are going to be very, very uncomfortable for both people involved. And when you are the person that's going to push forward and try to talk about things, you also need to understand that the partner's very unsafe that you're trying to talk with, And you have to realize that they may or may not know how unsafe you feel unless you express it. So just coming into the conversation with, listen, I know things have been tense. I'm uncomfortable with the tension between us. I love you. I care about you. I want things to be good in our relationship. But here are some things, back up the timeline, in the timeline, that have harmed me or offended me. Because oftentimes people do not know when they're offending you. But if you can start to push forward and have the hard conversations and lead with compassion, lead with a very stepped back, non-prideful stance where you're wanting to understand the other person and their issues with you or how you got offended or whatever, and give them the benefit of the doubt, more than likely the conversation will move forward. Remember, empathetic skill sets are what I hear you saying. If you can really learn to be a listener rather than always defending yourself, that will put you in a position where the communication could start to actually flow in a way that would be positive to intimately connect again. And then once that emotional connection is made, the sexual connection just flows naturally. I hope this helps you. And if you like any of this content, please like and subscribe. And if you want more of it, keep listening. We'll continue to follow through with content.